Perfect. So what I'd like you to do is show us how to make a proper, we're going to do like a latte based, like an espresso based kind of drink. Cool. Does that make sense? Like a latte or a cappuccino? Maybe you can explain to us while you're doing it the difference between like a latte and a mocha and a flat white and all of those kinds of things.
Cool. So we can make a flat white. That's
perfect.
So they're all espresso based, obviously. So what changes is the milk to foam ratio in most of the cups. Cappuccino obviously being a little bit foamier than the lattes, and then flat white even less foam.
Yeah.
So first off, we'll grab the portafilter here. Just flush out any excess grounds that might have been caught on the screen from the last one.
So I noticed that you've left the coffee grounds in it while it was that is that typical? Is that something you would recommend, or should we be dumping it?
This one doesn't have it. Normally it's habit that I do clean them, but then keep them here just to keep them hot.
Right.
I don't see, it's kind of a micro difference. Like some baristas keep it in, some keep it clean. It just depends on how busy you are too and how much time.
Exactly.
Because ultimately, even if there's grounds, even without, you're gonna have to dry it anyways.
Right.
Before you put the new grounds in. So
right.
So here I just knocked the puck out in the tube that we have there.
Which is one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
I take my aggression out by banging the coffee grounds.
And then we dry out the basket here, and then we like to weigh it out. Reason being is that the masa grinders, though they're consistent with the grind size, they're not always consistent with the dosing.
Yeah.
So I just kind of zero out here, and then I'll put a double in there.
I'm still excited about that, weighing the thing.
So then we weigh. The recipe changes daily. The parameters set by Pilot tend to be pretty good ones, though they change kind of throughout depending on how much grinds are in the hopper, how much the grinder's being used that day. So we just kind of dial it in every so often.
And is there a certain recommended weight for a dose for like a single versus a double, or does it depend on the coffee?
Yeah, so here we only pull doubles, and it could be anywhere between like 17 and 20 grams depending on how big the basket is.
Got it.
Depending on the roast, dark, light, all that kind of plays into it. So Pilot's recommended about 17.5 in their heritage roast is what we use here. So I was pretty happy with what we've got there, 17.6, close enough. Now we evenly distribute the grinds in the basket. The way we do that, the most effective way is just to tap the side of the basket. Reason being is when I want to tamp it, I want it all to be evenly dispersed. Water follows the path of least resistance, so if it's uneven, I'm only going to be extracting the coffee on the one side.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that I've tapped it, I kind of put it to the side, grab the tamper, and I want to get my elbow up right there, and then just polish off and wipe away the excess grinds that might be kind of there. That might get in there.
That's pretty.
So there.
It's definitely an art, and there's a science to it as well. It's not just like we're just throwing coffee together.
Absolutely.
There's a whole lot of it's very specific.
Yes, definitely. You're looking for consistency basically, right? Like if you have a good cup of coffee, you kind of want to know why, what goes into it. So we just kind of try to see how much we're putting in, how much we're getting out, at what time. So we're trying to time it so we can just adjust the one thing, which is the grind.
Awesome.
So I'm going to grab this.
Yep.
And we also want to know how much is coming out. So we're looking for a 1-to-2 ratio. So what we put in, we're doubling what we take out.
Got it.
More or less. There's some room to wiggle. Cool. So I purge the water just to make sure, and then I put it in. So now we are pressing this, and I'm timing it for about 28 seconds.
Very cool. So we were talking earlier, and we both lived in Australia.
Yes.
And we've already got a bit of a rivalry going on because I lived in Brizzy and she lived in Melbourne. And Brizzy is not exactly known for its food and coffee, whereas Melbourne is.
Yes.
Now I loved Brisbane food and coffee, but I didn't live in Melbourne. So tell me a little bit about your experience there.
I absolutely loved it. It took me a little while to figure out that everything there, anything cool and good is hidden.
It's true.
So a lot of the tourists don't know that. So a lot of the good places in town, in the financial district, are all down alleyways.
Yes.
And they're just like not advertised in your face. It's all
So
hidden,
true.
and it's all word of mouth.
So true. The best, actually, we did an espresso martini a few shows ago, and the best espresso martini I ever had was a back alley. My girlfriend and I call it the Dungeon Bar, because it's a back alley of Queen Street Mall, which is like the main, it's not even just touristy, like even people who live there go there all the time. If you live in the CBD, you're always there. But it's down and in behind, there's no sign, it's completely unmarked. You go in, it's like you're in someone's like basement.
Yeah.
Literally, and there's no decor. It's just, but the most amazing drinks I have had in a very long time there.
They're all hidden. Yeah, mine. I've had such a memorable espresso martini in a place. It's called Naked for Satan, and it was downtown. Not downtown. It was this neighborhood called Fitzroy in Melbourne. It's like a side kind of place, but their espresso martinis. They actually get a cafe in town to properly dial in and do their espresso correctly. So then there's no room for error.
That's these guys. So they serve coffee as well. So they pull the coffee themselves out of their typically how they would do it, and they make their martinis fantastic.
It's amazing. Cool.
Okay, so now we're gonna do the milk.
Yes.
Now, does the type of milk matter when you're frothing?
Just like in terms of like what you're looking for microfoam, yes. Almond milk, like if you're looking at unsweetened almond milk, you won't get the nice silky smooth texture as you would with regular milk, because it's the protein found in the milk that kind of supports and binds the bubbles.
So because it's got different proteins, it stretches it differently?
Yeah, exactly.
What about your fat content in your milk?
Fat content, again, doesn't matter with microfoam, but it does, in my opinion, affect taste.
Yeah.
So with like homogenized milk or like 2% even, I find when you're sipping it, it kind of like lasts longer when you're taking a sip. Whereas like 1%, you'll taste it, but then it's
gone.
Yeah.
That's what I found, because when I was, from living in Brisbane, I came home and I needed to have an espresso machine, because the idea of drinking Tim Hortons was just not going to cut it for me. Even Starbucks, we all turned down our noses or up our noses at Starbucks when we lived over there.
Yeah.
So, but I found when I came home, I was never able to get that kind of richness or that kind of, and then I just recently switched from 1% to 3%, and I've noticed a difference.
Yeah, so I'm the same. We're a family of 1% drinkers. And I find when I drink here at work specifically, I drink 3.25%. It's not to say I'm trying to, it's life's about balance, obviously. So I just have the one latte because it is a really, really big
Rich.
filling. But I just find my portion sizes get smaller. So I can justify, because it's just, say, I'm making myself a little latte or a cup of coffee in here. Like it's just a little bit of it.
It's not like you're having the big bucket.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I feel like it's good fat. It's not like French fry fat. It's milk.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at some froth, or how to do the steaming of the milk.
We'll be using whole milk again. I have to fill this one here. This more milk.
And then getting really picky, does it matter if you're starting with cold or room temperature milk, or it just means it'll take longer?
It does take longer. Like we just always go from cold milk right off the hop. We don't re-steam milk. It's just not good practice. So every time we steam milk, even if there's leftover, we use this kind of jug to kind of clean it out. And so
I want one of those for home.
Yeah, it would be really handy. So now that we have our perfectly extracted,
almost double what
espresso,
we had.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just going to purge this again because there's maybe some residual milk or some leftover stuff in there that's undesired. And then with steaming the milk, we always want to fill it up to about half. Reason being is because we're adding air. So if you fill it up too high, it's going to be overflowing.
Not that I've ever done that.
Same.
You learn the hard way.
When I'm steaming the milk, there is kind of a method that I use, and I try to stay consistent with where I'm putting the steam wand. We're wanting to see kind of a whirlpool going in. And you want this steam wand to be about 1 centimeter away. Okay, so I'm going to be steaming there. I add a little bit of
My
air.
favorite part, watching it roll.
Okay, and then you just kind of, I've added the amount of air that I want. I'm just seeing it whirlpool, and then I'm just kind of wait until it's as hot as I'd like it to be.
Interesting. And so how do you gauge? I've seen people use thermometers, and I've seen people do this.
Thermometers?
Is there...
Yeah, I've made several amount of lattes, so I don't use the thermometer as much.
But for the rest of us who are going to have no idea.
Go by kind of feeling it.
Yeah, that's hot. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
so if you can't hold it for more than 5 seconds, you'll burn your
And that
tongue.
means it's the right temperature.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So when you're looking at it, you're wanting to see
shiny.
kind of wet paint looking kind of thing. So that's a little too foamy for my taste. So I'll just take a little bit out. And then you don't want to wait too long when you're doing it because the bubbles will separate with the milk, kind of like a milkshake.
Yeah.
So when I'm pouring it, I kind of want to pour 3/4, and then you get really close
to make it look prettier. Look at that, it made a heart.
My favorite cup of coffee